Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire podcast.
Woo!
Woo! Episode 6.
Wow. We're doing this thing.
We made it. We made it this far. We're not stopping.
I apologize in advance for my very thirsty guinea pigs that are in the background right now. If you can hear them.
They're our most captive audience.
Yes, they are. They're learning a lot.
They are.
I'm Abby.
Oh, I forgot that part, didn't I? I'm Ashley.
And it's a beautiful sunny summer day, and I'm so excited to be trapped in my garage and listening to your story. Just kidding. No, I'm actually glad to be sitting down right now and for like an hour because my legs are killing me because I just did a all women's soccer tournament with my daughter last night, and it was adults and children mixed teams. So there was like adults, semi-pros from Washington State,
Oh no.
like an actual team, high schoolers, middle schoolers, down to my kindergartner. So I had to play against that yesterday. And I played for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Let's just say that the adults did not hold back, and I have many bruises on my legs from cleats and the ball. I was kind of defender goalie. It was small field, so I was kind of defender goalie because I was letting my girls, because I was a team captain, kind of play the upper field, and
let them run.
So I was kind of defit. Yeah, that's what I was like. It's for the kids. I'll let them do it. And so I got a lot of the defense. I was the wall, but I also got the consequence of the defense against like adults and stuff like that. And my poor daughter got like trampled and pushed and got a adult kick to the like a ball to the stomach, like an adult like power of a kick.
Oh.
I felt so bad for her. She was like sobbing
Yeesh.
like 40% of the time, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to I can't stop in the middle of the game. But we got 6th, so out of 14 teams.
Oh, nice. Nicely done, Abby.
It was pretty fun.
Awesome.
It was pretty fun. But yeah, I'm glad to be sitting right now because like my legs are so dead.
They are done.
My legs are so dead. They hurt. But it was so fun.
All right. Well, sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
Okay, so just kind of recap where we left off. The Valar are living in Valinor with Yavanna's trees.
Her beautiful trees.
The 2 beautiful trees. And I don't know why I can only remember one of the names. The other name is just gone from my brain.
Let me look it up.
Telperion is one. That's the one I can remember.
Laurelin and Telperion.
Telperion. Laurelin. Okay.
And Laurelin is the gold tree, and
Right.
Telperion is the silver tree.
Okay. So good remembering that part because we're going to talk about it here in a bit. But yeah, so the Valar are living in Valinor with Yavanna's trees, Telperion, and Laurelin.
Mm-hmm.
And back on Middle Earth, it's pretty empty and dark and kind of overgrowing forest at this point. Except for Melkor, Morgoth, and his gang in his fortress in Atemno. They're the only like main residents of Middle Earth right now.
Okay.
So for a long time, the Valar lived, quote, in bliss in the light of the trees.
Magical.
Magical.
What a life.
What a life. But I also want to know, like, what do you do all day? Like, do you just like lay out on one of those like chaise longues or whatever they're called and just eat bonbons all day? Like, I don't know.
Eat lambas.
Lambas all day.
I mean, if you can like basically create anything, like they can make anything, I think you wouldn't be short on stuff to do. It's like, I'm bored today. I'm going to make I don't know, another mountain. I'm gonna make a waterfall. You know,
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, I guess I would use my powers to be lazy. Like, I'll just make my food for me, and you don't need money to work, so I'll just laze around all day.
that is the dream.
That is my dream. Anyway, so Yavanna and Arome. Yavanna, Mother Earth, Arome, the hunter. They were the only ones of the Valar who would come to Middle Earth. And like I said, since the lamps are gone, uh, all Middle Earth is in the dark except for some faint starlight. There's just like a little bit of starlight. They didn't explain how the stars got there or how much light that is. That's just how it's described.
Well, I mean, there had to be stars because that lady, what's her name,
Varda.
is in charge of the
Right.
stars. Varda.
Well, we'll get back to her in a minute. But as of right now, just faint starlight. Um, so there's no sun. So everything that grew during the spring of Arda kind of became overgrown, dark, dead, creepy, just creepy old dark forest.
Okay.
Yavanna would come to walk in the quote shadows,
Ooh, mysterious.
mysterious, and grieve that her beautiful creations during the spring of Arda was disrupted by stupid Melkor Morgoth.
Oh,
She just is sad.
she worked so hard.
She did. She also put some of her creations, quote, to sleep so they wouldn't grow old and die.
They like to put things to sleep a lot in this.
Yes, they do.
They hit the pause button on a lot of
They
things.
hit the pause button. I like that. Melkor Morgoth was still in Middle Earth, but he was working on building his armies and his fortress in Autumno. Quote, and the evil things that he had perverted walked abroad, and the dark and slumbering woods were haunted by monsters and shapes of dread. And in Autumno he gathered his demons about him, those spirits who first adhered to him in the days of his splendor, and became most like him in his corruption. Their hearts were of fire, but they were cloaked in darkness, and terror went before them. They had whips of flame.
Ooh, like a Balrog.
Enter the Balrogs.
Yes.
So Balrogs come from the group of the Ainur that were in heaven, Asgard, that sided with Melkor Morgoth during the song.
Yeah.
And then when they came down to Iar to Earth with the other Maiar, they just sided with Melkor Morgoth. And it's not exactly clear, like, did their corruption, like, transform them into Balrogs? Did they want to become Balrogs? Did Melkor Morgoth, like, order them to be, bad A looking? Like, we need a new look here. You got too much of a Eru Iluvatar on you, so we need to make you look a bit more punk.
A little bit more extreme, a little bit more
Right.
goth. More goth, Ashley. More goth.
A bit more goth. I can't believe it was sitting there. It was sitting there. I'm so disappointed in myself. So he's gathering his armies, but he also, Autumno is in the north of Middle Earth, and Aemon, the island continent that,
The Valor on.
yes, they're across the ocean to the west. So he's like, you know what? I think I need a base a bit closer to the ocean so that if the Valar come, I get like a heads up and can more easily defend myself. So he wants to create a second base.
Okay. He gets more than one. Really?
Yes. This base was called Angband, which translates to Iron Prison.
Geez, it's like, hey man, if you want to have a better life, why do you keep setting yourself up for these like awful places and naming them sad things anyway?
Well, the question is, who named it that? Like, did Melkor actually call it that, or are the elves calling it that?
What if Morgoth is like the only thing he can say.
Like Groot.
And so like his helpers are like, okay, we're designing this castle. Do you have any design inspiration for it? Morgoth. Morgoth. Okay. What about these Balrogs? They're looking a little bit too, cute. Maybe not as intimidating and scary as we need to be.
Morgoth!
Morgoth? Exactly. Exactly. Good job.
Uh,
I you're an inspiration, sir.
kind of like Groot in the Wreck-It Ralph movie when they're asking him all the questions. I am Groot. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Exactly.
So he needs a new commander of this second base that he has. And who better to command it than, his lieutenant, Sauron?
Oh, that guy. He's trouble.
That guy. Evil eye, not wizard. Sauron, Saruman, different people.
So is he like a normal looking being at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
So Yavanna and Arome report back to the Valar that Middle Earth has gotten really dark and creepy, and so they decide they're going to hold a council meeting with the Valar.
They love their council meetings.
Another council meeting. Yavanna takes the floor. She's worried about the elves, and she knows, they're going to be coming to Middle Earth soon. She's worried that at the state that it's in, quote, shall we then leave the lands of their dwelling desolate and full of evil? Shall they walk in darkness while we have light? Shall they call Melkor Lord while Manwë sits upon Tanaquitl?
Good questions. Good questions.
Yeah, are we going to stand for this, people?
We worked hard to build this place, and that guy just comes in, makes it all awful. Are we just gonna run away and let him get away with it?
And of course, Tulkas jumps up and immediately wants to take action. He's the jock, he's the warrior. He's like, let's do it. He says, quote, nay, let us make war swiftly. Have we not rested from strife over long? And is not our strength now renewed? Shall one alone contest with us forever?
He was ready.
He was ready.
He's ready.
Ready.
He's like, I hate that guy. Let's go get him.
Let's go get him.
That guy's a real jerk.
I think he wants any excuse to just beat him up.
Oh, we fighting? We fighting? Okay,
I'm in.
Let's do this. I'm ready.
I'm ready. Quote, but at the bidding of Manwë, Mando spoke.
Is that the underworld kind of Hades guy?
Yes. So Manwë, just to review, Lord of the Valar, in charge of the air, wind and stuff. And Mandos is, keeper of the dead, underworld, Hades kind of guy.
Okay.
So the question is, why couldn't...
But he's nice.
But he's nice, yes. Why couldn't Manwë just speak for himself? But at the bidding of Manwë, Mando spoke. Or why didn't Mandos just speak, without permission? Well, I thought about this for a while. And this is because, while Mandos is mainly known as the Keeper of the Dead, he also is known as, quote, the Doomsman of the Valar. And he pronounces his dooms and his judgments at the bidding of Manwë. Manwë and Mandos know the most about the future. And although Iluvatar hasn't told them everything, they are the ones in the know. They know the most about what's going to happen. So they kind of are working together to kind of lead and guide everything.
Okay.
So Manwë is just kind of yeah, go ahead. You can tell them.
It's they have an inside joke and...
Yes. Yes, exactly. So anyways, Mandos says, quote, in this age, the children of Iluvatar, the elves and men, shall come indeed, but they come not yet. Moreover, it is doom that the firstborn, the elves, shall come in the darkness, and shall look first upon the stars. Great light shall be for their waning. To Varda, the Lady of the Stars, light, ever shall they call at need.
Aww. It's they're ma'am.
So I was very confused by this statement because he's talking about, yes, they're coming, but what is this, doom and light shall be their waning? I was so confused by this. I literally went down a Google rabbit hole of like, what the heck does this mean?
That's exactly what you typed. What the heck does this mean? Enter.
Yes. How I understand it is that the more light and like maybe therefore like the more assistance the elves receive from the Valar, the more doomed they are. But what is more confusing is Varda's reaction to this declaration. So Mandos is basically saying like the elves are coming, but the more assistance, the more light they get from us, the more doomed they are. They're not going to thrive with us helping so much. Side note, I printed out a copy I found online of the Silmarillion recently because I was going on a trip and I just wanted just the chapter I was working on. And this particular quote, "To Varda ever shall they call it need," ends with a period in the actual book that I, originally read from. However, this like paper version that I was working from ends with a question mark.
Which
Yeah. Which seems to follow my line of thinking. To Varda, ever shall they call it need? Like, are they just always going to cry to mommy when they need help?
Mom, I'm scared of the dark.
Yes. So Varda leaves the council and goes to her throne on Tanaquitl and looks out on the darkness of Middle Earth underneath a ton of stars. But they are, quote, faint and far. Like I said earlier, it's pretty dark. There's no sun, but they have a little bit of stars.
I mean, stars are pretty far. They're pretty far away.
Then Varda began to make the greatest creation of all time.
Woo.
Of all the Valar since they came to Ea Arda Earth, this will be the greatest.
Woohoo.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Indoor plumbing. No?
No.
Chocolate.
Quote, "She took the silver dews from the vats of Telperion," as we were talking earlier, that's the silver tree, "and therewith she made new stars and brighter against the coming of the firstborn."
Oh.
She also gets a ton of cool nicknames from doing this that were like basically impronounceable. But the coolest one she got that I think we've mentioned before is the Kindler.
Ooh. She kindled the flame of the light of the tree.
Yes, into the stars.
So she made stars.
Yes. So this is where she makes constellations with the stars, makes brighter stars. One of the constellations she makes, it's called Vala Circa, I'm going to say. She puts it towards the north, which is where Melkor Morgoth was. And the constellation was kind of in the shape of like a sickle, like an old fashioned curved knife, for cutting grain and stuff. And it was kind of supposed to be like a taunt or, quote, sign of doom to him.
Okay.
Like the sickle's just like hanging above him.
Ominous.
Ominous. Also, like oddly threatening for Varda. She seems so peaceful that all of a sudden she's like, "Tee hee hee, I'm going to like put this knife above you."
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Calm down, girl.
Another constellation she made was called Melkor, with, quote, his shining belt. It also has kind of like a blue star called Helluin. And it's actually similar to Orion's belt. And the blue fire star Helluin is similar to our North Star, Sirius, the sky's brightest star. So a little bit of a crossover there. So as Varda is completing her stars, the constellation Melkor first, quote, strode up the sky, and the blue fire of Helluin flickered in the mists above the borders of the world. In that hour, the children of the earth awoke, the firstborn of Iluvatar.
They were born under the stars. The starlight awoke them.
Yes.
Ooh. That's cool.
So the elves have finally arrived on Middle Earth. But I find this a weird description because they just like appear. Their birth or creation isn't recorded. They just like respawn like in a video game. Like, boop, like
Yeah.
out of nowhere, they're just like fully formed. I'm assuming they're already adults because it doesn't mention like kids or them like toddlering around. Which brings me to another question. How come we never see any elf children?
Huh. Boarding school, you know?
Which is where, oh my gosh, boarding school in Valinor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what they have to learn everything about being an elf, and then they get sent back.
I like that.
We've cracked it.
We've
That's
cracked
it.
it. We're on to you, Tolkien.
Yeah. That's what they did back then in his lifetime.
Yeah, that's true. So the elves wake up, and as they open their eyes, the first thing they see is the stars. Quote, therefore, they have ever loved the starlight and have revered Varda above all the Valar.
Oh, that's pretty.
It kind of reminded me of that scene in the Hobbit movies where Tariel is talking to Keely, and she's like talking about how much they love the stars, and
Yeah.
just made me think of that.
That character that doesn't exist. But yes. Keep going.
I have feelings on that, and I don't want to go into it now, but yes. Okay. Anyways.
The stars were made
Mm-hmm.
and they appeared.
Mm-hmm.
Was this given in permission of Iluvatar saying like this can happen, or is he going to be like, "Hey, you jumped the gun"?
Oh no, this is all according to the plan.
Okay.
So the place that they awake is called, okay, brace yourselves, Ku Evi Enin. I did it. I did it.
What? Say it again.
Ku Evi Enin. Ku Evi Enin.
Huivienen.
Yes. Or Water of Awakening.
Okay. So were they born in Middle Earth?
Yes.
Okay.
So since Melkor Morgoth destroyed the lamps, the land and the waters kind of shifted. We kind of talked about that when it happened.
Because they were so huge, they like slammed into the ground and changed the actual terrain of the world.
Exactly. But this is near a mountain that the lamp Ailuin used to be in the kind of northeast area in Middle Earth.
Okay.
So water flows down from this mountain, and it's actually the first sound that the elves hear is water falling over the stone.
Oh, soothing little ASMR.
Right? So the elves lived here for a while, just looking around at everything. They began to make their own language and began to name everything that they saw. They called themselves the Quendi, Quendi.
Isn't that a form? I mean, I might be jumping the gun, but isn't that a form of language in Tolkien?
No, it's like Kenya or something. Quenya. I'm going to look it up now just to be sure. Quendi speak Quenya, if that makes any sense.
Oh, okay. I wasn't crazy.
No, you're
I
good.
wasn't crazy.
You're not crazy. So the Quendi, which means those who speak with voices, because at that point they're the only ones that had voices. You know, the trees don't talk. At this point, so the Quendi, those who speak with voices.
Huh.
Then, yo man, Arome,
My man.
happened to be hunting nearby when all of a sudden his horse, Nahar, quote, set up a great neighing and stood still.
Did that freak those tiny little elf babies out?
Yeah.
What the heck was that noise?
Well, so Arome stops and listens, and he hears, quote, many voices singing. And I want to do a post, and I want people to submit what song they were singing. Abby, go. What's the first song that comes to your brain?
That the elves were singing all together?
Yes.
Like when he stumbled upon them?
Yeah. So like you're in the forest, you're just like on your horse, and all of a sudden you hear in the distance people singing.
Oh shoot. I don't know. I gotta think on that one. Kumbaya. Oh, let's see.
Like of course, like the first thing I thought of was when Frodo and Sam in the Fellowship of the Ring movie are walking through the forest, and what elves? And they're like, da, 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 da. They're just like singing in, yeah.
Yeah.
But I want more practical, like pop culture or historical songs. So, like, are they singing the Handel's Messiah, like Hallelujah? Like, what song are they singing?
Oh, I'll have to think about that one.
Okay,
No, I got it. I got it. I got it. It was like Sister Act,
okay.
where they're like really shy at the beginning and then they start singing and then they just get into it. And it's like they have a chorus, like they've got the altos, they've got the sopranos, they've got the baritones. Like they're just going for it. But it's very much, I'll have to put up a clip, but sorry, we've just been watching Sister Act.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen it, to be honest, but
Oh, it's so
okay.
good. My kids love it. It's funny. It's not really like 100% a kids movie, but my kids really like it.
A lot of our childhood movies are like that, to be honest.
I mean, it's about a lady who has to go into witness protection because she saw a mob hit.
Oh no.
So, anyway, um,
Anyways.
uh, it's like a praise song. They're like do 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 do
Oh yeah.
do 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 ba-da-da-da-da-da. They're just like, but it's like a very coordinated. Like they dance, they clap, but they like they're in sections. And like I want like one of them to be like the director of like all of them. Okay, that's in my brain. They're singing the song from the first Sister Act movie.
Okay. Got it. Post that, and then we want to hear everyone else's songs that you think that they're singing. Anyways, although Arome had seen visions of them from the songs Iluvatar's like themes, he was still very much in awe of them. He loved them immediately, and he named them in their own language, the Eldar, or people of the stars.
Aw.
But dun dun dun, Arome wasn't actually the first one to find the elves. Insert gasp. You're supposed to be like, there you go. Yeah. Melkor Morgoth was.
Oh no! Did he hurt them? Did he hurt our little elf babies? Oh, oh.
Yes.
No. No, no. Oh, by the way, I also found, hold on, side note, I actually did find the song they were singing. I did. I found the exact same one. I found it. I found it.
Good.
You light up my life. You give me hope to carry on. Yeah, that one.
Okay. You can have 2 votes.
Because it says, "You light up my life, you give me hope to
Mhm.
carry on, you light up my days and fill my nights with song.
Perfect. I like it.
Rolling at sea, adrift on the water, could it finally be I'm turning for home? Finally a chance to say, hey, I love you, never again to be all alone."
See,
Yeah,
yeah, I like it. Nicely done. Nicely done.
they were singing, "You light
Okay.
up my life."
But like maybe a Sister Act version, gospel choir version of it.
Yeah, yeah. It starts off really slow and then they're like, yeah. They
I
start
like it.
going for it.
So, unfortunately, Melkor Morgoth, the ever watchful, was actually the first one to know that the elves were awake.
Oh no.
You'd think that the Valar, the people who were so excited for the elves to come, would have kept a closer eye out for their arrival.
Where did I put those? Oh, dang it. Oh, I misplaced them.
Apparently, they'd been there for a while before Arome found them.
Ooh, whoops.
I mean, how many Valar Mire are there? Like they couldn't, they're all just eating bonbons up in Valinor that they just,
They're all like laying around. They're like, oh, I just feel like I'm forgetting something. What? Ah,
Were we supposed to do something today?
did I leave the oven on? What was? And then Varda like sits up. She's like, Kevin. That's what it. That's what it was.
That is exactly what happened. But so sadly, Melkor Morgoth gets there first, and he quote sent shadows and evil spirits to spy on them and waylay them. So it came to pass some years ere before the coming of Arome, that if any of them strayed far abroad, alone or few together, they would often vanish and never return.
Oh no.
And the Quendi said that the hunter had caught them, and they were afraid.
Oh no. So wait, the hunter like Morgoth or Arome?
Exactly. So later on, the elves would look back at their history, and some of their most ancient songs would talk about a scary shadow or a quote, dark rider upon his wild horse that would basically kidnap them and eat them.
Oh, that can't be my man. That's
well,
gotta be that scary guy.
well, he is a scary guy, but remember, Melkor Morgoth was terrified of Arome on his horse because he would like blow his horn and just like scare
Oh,
everyone
maybe you
off.
know what? Maybe he was like doing that like I don't know what book or series it is where it's like they kind of not really shapeshift but kind of like give the illusion that they're like another person. So like maybe he was like it was Morgoth, but to them he kind of looked like Arome just so he's like these guys are the actual bad guys
Right.
to like trick them.
Exactly. So he basically sent either his bad guys to act like a Rome riding on his horse to scare them, or he told his bad guys to tell the elves, like, hey, there's this guy on his horse and he's a bad dude. Like, be terrified of him.
Oh,
Yeah.
false information.
Yeah. So now let's go back to when Arome and Nahar first came upon the elves.
Who's Nahar?
His horse. His horsey.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. There's so many names. There's so many names.
I know.
His horsey.
So you have been told that there is a scary dark rider that's going to kidnap you and eat you. And then all of a sudden, this guy and his horse comes, and what's the first thing you're going to do?
I don't know. Are they a flight or fight kind of person, you know?
Exactly.
Personally, I'm a freeze, kind of like a deer, like a huh. But I don't know. They might be still young enough where they don't know how to fight back, so they probably ran away.
Right. So some were downright terrified because of all the trauma that Melkor Morgoth put them through. So they either hid or they ran.
Oh.
Quote, but those that had courage and stayed perceived swiftly that the great rider was no shape out of darkness, for the light of Aemon was in his face, and all the noblest of the elves were drawn towards it.
Ooh, okay, no, that's what I remember. It's like when Gandalf came back in the movies as
Yes.
the Gandalf the White, and but
Yeah.
in like a split second they edited it to look like he was Saruman,
Yeah.
and you're like, is it the bad guy? And then that's
Yeah.
what I was trying to think of. I think that's what he was doing with the other one. It was like, I can't tell. But
Yeah.
then when they got closer, then you realize that like, oh, he's a good guy.
Yeah. But I want to talk for a quick sec about this light of Aemon because apparently we've talked about it before. Just to recap, Aemon is the like continent of where the Valar are in Valinor.
Yes.
Yeah. So are they like constantly glowing? Are the Valar just like the gods in Hercules that just like have this like glow about them?
Ethereal glow. I think so.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's like how they portrayed like Galadriel, how she's kind of glowy,
Yeah.
like like in the um Lothlorien scenes, she's kind of has a white kind of light.
Yeah. She kind of has a glow.
I think it's like that.
Yeah. Anyways, sadly, some of those that hid or ran were captured and put in Melkor Morgoth's prison in his fortress in Autumno.
How far away did they run? Or was the bad guy just like right there?
They were waiting for them, basically.
Oh no.
Quote, and by slow arts of cruelty were corrupted and enslaved. And thus did Melkor breed the hideous race of orcs in envy and mockery of the elves. This, it may be, was the vilest deed of Melkor and the most hateful to Iluvatar.
It's giving me like I couldn't have this thing that I wanted really bad. Like, I wanted to have these people. I'm going to transform the ones that you made in like kind of like a
A taunt, a slap in the face.
yes, yeah, a slap to the
Yeah,
face of like, look how gross I can make them.
exactly.
That's so sad. Oh,
Yeah.
those poor little F babies. They're like, I'm so scared. And then suddenly they're like, wait, now I'm a gross, muddy thing.
So this part reminded me of the quote that Saruman says in the Fellowship of the Ring when he's talking to like the Uber orc. And he's like, "Do you know how the orcs first came into being? They were elves once, taken by the dark powers, tortured and mutilated, a ruined and terrible form of life."
Oh, that makes me sad for the elves. They can be a little like pretentious and stuff, but they had a rough beginning.
Yeah. So now Melkor Morgoth has made Balrogs and orcs from Iluvatar's creations. Because the Balrogs were originally Maiar, or Ainur. I guess they're all Ainur. And orcs were from the children of Iluvatar, the elves.
So, because the Balrogs are Einar, are they like immortal?
Well, elves aren't immortal. They can die. I mean, they can be slain. They can be killed.
But they can live
Yeah,
forever.
yeah,
I'm meaning like just lifespan.
yes, yes, they can.
So, like, orcs could live forever?
No, orcs are elves.
No,
So,
I'm
oh
saying,
yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry,
could
you're right.
orcs live forever because they're immortal like I mean, they can be slain, like, physically
Yes,
killed, but if nothing hurt them, they could live forever?
correct.
Whoa, that sucks.
Yeah,
And I didn't know that. I mean, you said it earlier, but
yeah.
I'm still trying to grasp that. Like Gandalf and a Balrog are the same thing.
They are
Weird.
weird.
It's kind of like the light side and the dark side, which is, do you think Gandalf knew that when he fought it?
I think that's why he like tried talking to it. I mean, they weren't trying to like talk to the trolls or the orcs.
He's like, this isn't you, man.
Yeah.
This isn't you. That's sad.
It's Moana talking to Tefiti when she's Teka.
Yeah. I hope that he didn't. I mean, he probably did know, but that would be kind of sad. Like, what if like it was his a friend? You know?
Yeah, it could have been.
Uh, I gotta get all sad with it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. It's an interesting perspective. I didn't think about it that way. And that's why you are here. So Melkor Morgoth, apparently since he rebelled in the beginning in the Ainu Lindale, he isn't allowed to actually create things anymore.
The spark was taken from him.
Yeah. So you notice like Aule wasn't supposed to create the dwarves, but like Iluvatar let it slide. So Melkor Morgoth can't just make things out of nothing, but he can manipulate other people's creations.
Oh, he's a plagiarist.
Yes.
He plagiarizes
Yes.
someone else's work. He tries to
Precisely.
pass it as his own
Exactly.
by changing the title in
Yes.
some sentences.
Yes. So like later on he'll get an army. He didn't create anything in the army.
He stole it.
He stole it. Yeah. Um so he makes the Balrogs from the Maiar. He makes the orcs out of the elves and the wargs and stuff that like come later. They were Yavanna's.
Oh,
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. So Arome, he hung out with the elves for a while, the elves that weren't afraid of him. And then went to Valinor to tell the Valar all about the elves awakening and about the weird like shadow problem they were having. And the Valar were like, "Well, obviously the shadow thing is Melkor Morgoth. What should we do about it?" And they go and discuss it, and Naruma was like, "Okay, cool. You guys figure out what to do. I'm gonna go back and hang out with my new elf friends."
You guys got this? I gotta go.
Yeah. So Manwë sits up on his throne, Tanaquil, for a while and just thinks about what to do. And he has his mental conversation with Iluvatar again.
Uh-huh.
And then he calls a town meeting with the Valar, and even Olmo comes from the sea.
That's a big get. That's a
Yeah,
big get to get him to go.
right? It's a big deal. Side note, I wasn't going to mention this before, but I just can't. Tolkien. The council meeting room of the Valar and Valinor. They meet in a city, I guess, called Valmar, but the actual like meeting area is called quote the Ring of Doom.
Why? Like,
Exactly. Like I kept reading back, like, am I reading this right? And it's kind of confusing when you read it at first. And that's the only reason that I'm mentioning it, just in case other people had the same confusion than I did. You'd think that the word doom is a bad thing, like Mount Doom. But sometimes I think Tolkien means doom as like fate.
well, um,
You're pronouncing the doom of someone, like the fate of someone.
but doom always is thought of as like a bad fate. I've never heard of a happy doom.
Right. um, so that's the only understanding I could get from that. And then he means ring as in like a circle. So I hereby want to call this meeting area the Circle of Life.
Oh, it's a think tank.
That's what I want to call it.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what I want to call it from
that's
now on.
better.
The Circle of
That's
Life.
better. That's
Yeah.
better than
The Ring of Doom.
the ring of doom. It's like, we need to find a good solution to help our little elf babies and make their life happy and better. Let's go have a meeting in the Ring of Doom. Surely that will give us good inspiration and have good ideas for happy things that are going to be that's going to be, happening. That's exactly the vibe we need.
Mandos, you can't name the council meeting rooms anymore. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, okay.
so at this meeting, Monway says that Iluvatar, sent him a message via telepathy, and he wants them to start managing Ea Arda Earth again. They'd taken a break for a while after Melkor Morgoth knocked down their block tower, the lamps. But now Iluvatar wants them to try again and protect the elves from Melkor Morgoth.
Like they should have been doing in the beginning.
Right? Uh, the Valar have mixed feelings actually about this. Tulkas, of course, is like, let's go. But Aule, it was his towers that got knocked down, and he's really worried about what damage Melkor Morgoth is going to do this time. It's like, I put in all that work, and he's just going to break everything again.
He's pouting.
But eventually, they all decide to leave Valinor and go to Middle Earth to save their elf friends and to put an end to Melkor Morgoth's crap. Quote, the Valar made ready and came forth from Aemon in strength of war, resolving to assault the fortresses of Melkor and make an end.
Ooh.
And that reminded me of the scene with Theoden. If we're going to make an end, I would have us make such an end.
Yes. In my brain, they're like on their horses. They're coming, and you hear this like do 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 ah. Yeah. Yes.
I like it. We're making that post later. So Melkor Morgoth never forgets that this particular war was only started because the elves. Like, they left me alone. They were leaving me to all my evil devices. And then these elves came along, and then, then they got mad at me and they, made this war.
Who tattled on me? Who tattled on me?
Yeah. So he adds the elves to the list of people that he's mad at. List is getting pretty long now.
Oh, yeah, like it's their fault. Like it's their fault.
Yeah. But that's Melkor Morgoth logic for you.
They gotta blame everybody else but themselves. Typical narcissist behavior.
Yeah, exactly. So this battle would be known as the Battle of the Powers.
Wow. Isn't all battles of powers? Anyway, but yes, go on.
Yeah. Melkor Morgoth met the Valar in battle, but the first victory was won by the Valar pretty quickly. So the servants of Melkor Morgoth retreated back to Autumno. So now the Valar know where his fortress is. So they're held up in Autumno. The Valar took back the rest of Middle Earth and put a guard over Cuivienen, or the Water of Awakening, where the elves were living.
All right.
So they take everything back. They put a guard up. And the elves actually had no part in the battle, and they don't really know any of the details of the battle.
They're just like with popcorn on the side. And they're like, go, go, go.
But they're like seeing it from like behind trees. They're only like hearing things.
Mom and dad are fighting.
Quote, save that the earth shook and groaned beneath them, and the waters were moved, and in the north there were lights as of mighty fires.
Wow. And they didn't.
Like, go investigate?
Did they know that? Did they know they're like, they're fighting over
Yeah.
me? They're fighting over us.
There were many assaults on Autumno, so much so that, quote, the lands of the far north were all made desolate in those days. For there Autumno was delved exceeding deep, and its pits were filled with fires and with great hosts of the servants of Melkor.
Kind of like in the second one, I think, where they're like cutting down trees and throwing them down in the pits, like the fire and stuff like that. Okay, no. In my brain, are the Varda
Valar.
Valar, I mean, Varda included, but
yeah,
are they using their like powers? Like, how freaking cool if they're like riding in on their horses and stuff, and they're like coming in, and like Monway's riding a freaking eagle, and they're like coming in, and what's the Earth guy?
Aule.
Aule just like raises his hand, and suddenly just like this like mountain of rock just like comes out from the earth and like knocks like the army that's coming towards them like off. You know what I mean?
Like wind, like the sound wave thing.
Yeah, like blowing them over, or like a like tornado kind of situation, or like
and then Nessa just dances.
she's like,
she's
go,
a cheerleader.
Go. And then other girls just crying in the back, like, why are we fighting? I don't like it. I don't want to do this anymore.
And then Estee, she's like the battlefield medic.
Yeah, she has like a little stretcher. No, wouldn't that be so epic? Or then
I love this image.
Olmo is like pulling water from the ground. I'm thinking very Avatar, like water bending and earth bending and air bending, like that kind of battle, but like epic.
Yeah, no, I like it.
All in darkness. Like, I'm thinking not pure darkness. I'm thinking kind of like when the moon is really, really bright and you're like in an open field and you can like, it's kind of like a silvery night look. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, epic.
Yes, but I think you chose the perfect song because now I can't. I'm like visualizing it all with the that like Nirvana. Yeah.
And he's on his freaking eagle, and the eagle makes that noise. Oh, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I love that. And Tulkas is running. It's just like the boom, 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 boom.
Yes. And he outruns the horses.
Of course.
Oh my gosh. Oh, no. In Thor, that's why I was thinking of the song was the
right, yeah.
But the Valkyrie, when she's like coming in on her flying horse.
Yes.
Like the eagle, like that kind of look.
Oh yeah. I like it.
Epic.
So they kick all of the bad guys' butts.
Yes.
And they were able to capture Melkor Morgoth.
How do you capture something that doesn't have a body?
He has a body.
Does he have a body? Is he like a... Oh, I thought he said he didn't choose a body.
He just didn't want to be...
Pretty.
He doesn't look like an elf. He's not pretty, yeah. Tulkas, of course, found him, and he was hidden, quote, in the uttermost pit.
Of course.
Quote, then Tulkas stood forth as champion of the Valar and wrestled with him and cast him upon his face. And he was bound with the chain and Gainor that Aule had wrought and led captive, and the world had peace for a long age.
Oh. Do you think it was kind of like that weird brother that's like ruining everything and then the jock big brother like wrestling him and be like, that's the image in my head. Be like, quit being a jerk, man. Like,
Yeah. It's like foot's on his face.
yeah. I think of them as more like brothers and sisters.
They are.
Not the ones that are married, but like
Yeah.
they are a family. So I feel like they kind of have this like sadness of Melkor and Morgoth of like, come on, man. Like we were like in this together. And
Right.
then now I gotta fight you and make you look like an idiot. What movie is it where that happens? Where like the brother is like ruining everything and
Like
the other,
every movie.
yeah, the like older brother or something like has to take him down and he's like embarrassed. Oh, Thor. Thor and Loki.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that works.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it.
But Morgoth is not Loki.
No.
Loki's amazing. I love you.
Yeah, but I do very much get Thor vibes from Tilgos.
Yeah.
So this chain, I find it so funny. Of course, Tolkien named the chain, and Gainor, it means quote the oppressor, and it basically was like a super heavy duty chain that Aule made
Oh,
of an unbreakable alloy.
of course.
Of course,
The stuff that is in Wolverine.
yeah,
It's adamantium. The first known writings of adamantium. Vibranium.
yes. So I just had to put that in there because Tolkien details and yeah. So while they were able to capture Melkor and Morgoth, apparently the Valar didn't check all the tunnels and caves in Autumno and Angband,
Oh, come on, guys. Come on, guys. Amateur work.
right? So some of the bad guys managed to hide and then they like escaped into the world, quote, awaiting a more evil hour.
Dang.
And unfortunately, this included Sauron.
Ugh. Did they even know Sauron existed?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Um, yeah. So, like you said, amateur hour. So Melkor Morgoth in chains is brought to Valinor, and quote, there he lay upon his face before the feet of Manwë and sued for pardon. This was obviously denied, and he was put in prison in quote the fastness of Mandos, where none can escape, neither Valar nor elf nor mortal man.
Like death, right?
Mm-hmm. So remember when we were trying to figure out where everything was on Valinor, like the halls of Mandos? It finally tells us here.
Ooh.
And quote, they were built in the west of the land of Aemon.
Huh. Okay.
So Aemon, the mountain range with Tanaquitl is kind of like on the eastern coast. And then as we head a little bit west, there's Valinor. And then on apparently the western coast is the halls of Mandos.
Oh. Oh, sorry. Flora over there was so excited.
So Melkor
She
Morgoth
went, what?
is now in prison and he will stay there for 3 ages long. And after that, he can apply for parole.
Yeah. I don't think he has a very good lawyer.
No,
How does it say how long an age is?
it doesn't say that.
Oh.
It happens in this book.
I'm guessing like thousands of
I
years.
would think so. Now, the Valar have another council about what to do about the elves now. You know, they got rid of Melkor Morgoth, so are we going to leave them alone or should we go back and help them? And some of the Valar, mainly headed up by Ulmo, think that they should be, quote, left free to walk as they would in Middle Earth and with their gifts of skill to order all the lands and heal their hurts. I was kind of confused by this because it doesn't really specify that the elves received gifts.
Oh.
So I mean, I'm assuming they just have gifts, but it doesn't specify. The rest of the Valar were afraid for the elves. Quote, in the dangerous world amid the deceits of the starlight dusk, and they were filled, moreover, with the love and beauty of the elves and desired their fellowship. So basically, they didn't want them to be all alone in the dark because all they have is starlight. And they just love them so much. They think they're so cute and want to be their friends so badly that they just want to help them.
Cute.
In the end, the Valar end up inviting the elves to their home in Valinor
Ooh,
to, quote, be gathered at the knees of the powers, the Valar, in the light of the trees forever.
lucky. VIP invitation.
I know. Well, just you wait. And then Mandos, who had been quiet up to this point, all of a sudden drops an ominous line and says, quote, so it is doomed.
Oh, come on, man.
And then it says, not Mando saying this, but just in the book, quote, from this summons came many woes that afterwards befell.
They're all having a good time. And then that guy comes out and he's like, he says that, and they all look at him like, really? Come on. Like, come on, guy. You brought down the vibes. The vibes are sad now.
So I don't understand why the Valar, I understand them not wanting to interfere with the choices of like elves and men. They have their agency and whatnot. But why can't Mandos tell the other Valar guys, like, hey, I think this is a bad idea. Let's not do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, man? Why you gotta be so mysterious?
Yes. Anyways, the Valar send Arome to Middle Earth to invite the elves to come to Valinor. And surprisingly, the elves were a bit hesitant.
Oh yeah. They had a rough upbringing. They're not very trusting.
They didn't really know the Valar. They had only seen them, quote, in their wrath as they went to war, which is not the greatest first impression, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they have blood all over them. You guys were thinking about moving in with us?
So the only Valar they really know was Arome. So after some discussion with the Valar, Arome goes to them again, but instead of just a general invitation for everybody, this time he just chooses 3 ambassadors or representatives to go to Valinor and to kind of check things out for everyone else.
Okay.
Their names, these are important to remember, and they're ridiculous. Ingwe, Finwë, and Elwë.
Huh. It's giving me very like dwarf, like Feely, Keely, Dallin, Dwalin.
Yeah, I imagine they'd be offended if you said that, but sure.
Hey.
Because dwarves are icky.
But more, I'm saying like he groups them a little bit, like
Right.
trying to keep things grouped and easy to remember. So Elway, Fenway, and what's the first one?
Ingwe.
Ingwe. Okay. So these are elves
Mm-hmm.
that were invited to Valar, right?
Valinor.
Valinor.
Yes.
Dang it.
I know the V
Valinor.
names get me every time. So they go to Valinor and their minds are just blown by the beauty of everything there, especially Yavanna's trees.
Well, I mean, that's probably the most light they've ever seen.
Right.
They're like, my eyes.
So then Arome takes them back to Kui Viennan, or the Water of Awakening, and they basically tell all the elves how amazing Valinor is and how they all should go.
Okay. So they got picked out of the group, these special 3, to go first to like prove that it's not a scary place where they're going to get moited.
Right. And this starts the first migration or sundering of the elves.
Cool. Wow. I got a lot of fun mental imagery out of that.
Yeah.
What's crazy to me is putting together the pieces of what Morgoth had made was things that were good to begin with and then they got ruined, which is kind of a sad metaphor, of like when icky things get into good things, it's hard to change them back.
And I tried doing some research on this, but I kind of hit some walls. I was always confused. I don't know about you, but the orcs in the first movie terrified me. Like, I was maybe like 11, but I had like nightmares about it.
Yeah.
And when they were like in the mud, I was like, oh, so is that how they were made? But then Saruman says, they were elves once. And I was like, wait, are they mud people or are they elves? I'm so confused. So I never really got a good answer about the mud people thing,
Isn't that like a different breed?
the Urukai or whatever.
Yeah.
But how does mud do it? What does mud do? I don't know. So that at least answers the question of how were they elves once?
Yeah, which is sad. It's sad. They could have had a beautiful life. It's not like they made any mistake
Right.
or they made any bad choice. They were literally captured and tortured to be this way. It's not like
They didn't volunteer for it.
no, more like they kind of like Anakin Skywalker, where he like it slowly started happening because of the bad choices they were making.
Oh,
Does that make
yeah.
sense? Like
Yeah.
they got corrupted. It wasn't like
Hmm.
that. It was like they were these pure little baby innocent little souls that got captured and then they got tortured and turned into these nasty things and to never be beautiful and happy again. And eat maggoty bread for 3 days. That's their life now,
Yeah.
and that's just sad. That's a sad way to think of like, oh, it wasn't their fault.
Right.
That was their doom to do that.
Yeah. Their doom. And then I also loved the imagery that you painted. It never really goes into detail about how the Valar fight. They talk about weapons and things like that, but I loved your idea of using their like powers. There's actually a series out there. It's not super well known, but I'm curious if any of our listeners know it. It's called I think it's called Darker Shades of Magic, and it's by like V.E. Schwab or something like that. But it's this series where they use magic, but they like more manipulate things. So they fight with like the elements like water, fire, and earth. But how they fight with water and fire and earth is actually really cool. Like for water, they like freeze it and turn it into like shards, like icicle shards. And like wind, they like make like fire tornadoes. And yeah, but it
Cool.
just made me think of that when you were saying it earlier. But so if there's any V.E. Schwab fans out there that know what I'm talking about,
I just thought of Avatar,
yeah,
The Last Airbender. Yeah, that mental image is pretty cool in my head.
I like it. I like it. Again, no actual like basis for that. I have no way of proving that that's how they fight. I have not read that anywhere, but I like to imagine it.
It's pretty cool.
So next week, we are going to talk about the migration, the sundering of the elves. It's going to get a little confusing, but I did make a chart that I will post after the episode. And I will actually post I found like a map too of Valinor, Eamon. That might help a little too.
Yeah.
So the only problem with my map and my chart and other things that I've found is they kind of went ahead of where I wanted to be. So I literally like blacked out parts of it.
You're like covering it up on your screen, like, spoilers.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I literally like edited the picture and used like the little marker thing.
You censored it.
Yeah. So it doesn't look the best. I apologize, but unless Abby wants to make a new version that looks prettier, that's what I'm giving you.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll go over it next week.
Yay!
Yay! More confusion, more charts, more maps.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Thanks, Tolkien.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for teaching me today.
You're welcome. I hope that you learned something new.
Yeah, I did. It was epic. It was an epic fight, epic time.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for following us on Instagram and liking all of our stuff. Feel free to comment. I'm loving all the comments that are there, so keep them coming.
Yeah, you could talk to us. We're not bots. We are humans that can interact, so you can talk. Anyway.
All right, well, until next week, I've been Ashley.
And I'm Abby. And this is the Sisters of the Shire podcast. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.